I want you to just run a quick internal risk assessment for a moment. How much of your current revenue success, and maybe more importantly, your quarterly forecast, how much of that relies entirely on just a handful of people, those irreplaceable rainmakers? If the answer is a lot, then you are carrying some serious, unnecessary organizational debt. Today, we are doing a deep dive into material from the sales experts, specifically some excerpts from the work of Nathan Davis. And this material, it doesn't just critique that reliance on talent. It provides a full 8-step blueprint for moving sales performance from an art form to something more like a standardized engineering discipline. So our mission today, it's really laser focused on you, the executive, the sales leader. We want to distill, let's say, 2 core actionable shifts that you can make, right now, to build that scalable, repeatable revenue system. The fundamental idea here is actually pretty simple but profound. Sales is not magic. It is a process. And as the source material warns, hope is not a sales strategy.
What's so fascinating is that the high-level value is immediate. When you step back and look at it, a well-designed sales process, it isn't just about hitting a quota. It's a sophisticated growth engine, and it addresses organizational risk.
Risk is the key word.
It is. It establishes these standardized, documented customer interactions, which is, it's critical for legal, for compliance, even for M&A considerations. It's all about building institutional knowledge, not just celebrating individual heroism.
That distinction is everything. We are moving the conversation away from, cheering on the star quarterback to actually designing the infrastructure of the entire stadium. So the core tension here that the source material really gets into is pervasive in sales, isn't it? This myth of natural talent.
Well, we love that narrative that a Revis' incredible sales success is due to some innate, unteachable gift or just raw hunger.
Oh, absolutely. It's an easy explanation, right?
It is, but it turns your revenue into a completely unpredictable variable. And it absolutely minimizes the most critical component, which is structure. If we connect this to, the bigger picture of running a predictable business, attributing success just to personality, well, it means your company has no real control over its main revenue driver. The reality check here is that success comes from following proven sales process steps with discipline.
Yeah.
And with consistency.
And the author's background really speaks to this, doesn't it?
It's a compelling case study. Selling everything from basic consumer products to these massive, complex, 200,000 pounds industrial software packages across 28 different countries. The common factor in all those successes, it was never the product, it wasn't the culture.
It was the process.
It was the repeatable underlying process. Every single time.
That breadth of experience just proves the universality of it all. It shows that the architecture of the sale is, it's product agnostic and culture agnostic. The process, not just the product knowledge, is the true competitive edge. And think about that outside of sales for a second. The source mentions running a marathon. You don't just wake up and hope you have the natural talent to run 26 miles. You follow a system. Maybe it's Jeff Galloway's run-walk program, some other structured regimen. You follow a plan.
And this is where we have to challenge that idea that standardization just creates, robotic mediocrity. It doesn't. If you look at any high-performing system medicine, engineering, even something like complex music composition structure, is the prerequisite for performance.
So for an executive, the mindset shift is this. You're no longer just paying for individual talent.
Exactly. You're investing in a system that turns average talent into reliable performers. The process, when it's documented and repeatable, that becomes the IP of the organization.
So the knowledge stays with the company.
Not with the employee who walks out the door.
That's the key. We aren't arguing that personality doesn't matter, but that discipline and consistency matter more. A repeatable system, it ensures that the inevitable, variability of human performance is contained within a predictable range.
Okay, so let's move from that foundation of systemic reliability to concrete action. The source points to 2 fundamental shifts that leaders need to make. This is where that risk management discussion becomes really tactical.
The first, and I would argue the most important takeaway for any executive, is addressing that 80-20 rule risk. If 80% of your revenue is tied to 20% of your performers, you are exposed. That's just unacceptable instability for forecasting, and it dramatically impacts the valuation of the business, especially if M&A is ever on the table.
So how specifically does shifting the focus to process change that risk profile? Does it mean the stars suddenly become average, or does it elevate the floor for everyone else?
It absolutely elevates the floor. The scalable sales process is the solution because it forces clear structures that make talent, fungible.
Fungible talent, yes. It means that while one rep might close a deal a bit faster or with a slightly higher contract value, their success is based on them hitting the same objective milestones as everybody else. And this is done through three critical structural elements the source mentions: defined, repeatable workflows, structured training that focuses on mastering specific steps, and objective pipeline management.
Let's get a little more granular on that pipeline management piece. In a talent-driven model, a top performer might say, I have a good feeling about this deal, it's going to close next week. But in a process-driven model, what does the system demand to let that deal progress? What's the evidence?
That's exactly where the engineering focus comes in. The process documentation has to define the specific exit criteria for every single stage. For instance, to move from needs assessment to presentation, the process must demand documented evidence.
Such as?
It's like a signed mutual action plan, or a clear articulation of the three most critical business problems, documented in the prospect's own words. The deal progresses because the evidence meets the criteria, not because the rep has a good feeling.
So the power here is organizational. The system is managing the outcome.
Precisely.
The direct benefit for the executive is twofold, then. First, the structured process ensures that even average employees perform well enough to sustain revenue growth. And second, you achieve less risk when top salespeople leave because their output is tied to a shared, documented methodology.
It completely changes the hiring equation. You stop spending months searching for that mythical unicorn, and you start focusing on hiring for cultural fit, for coachability, for discipline. Your ramp time for new hires just plummets because you are training them on a proven map, not just, throw them in the deep end.
Okay, let's talk about the process architecture itself. Every sales leader knows the standard core steps, right? Prospecting, assessment, presentation, closing, and so on. The challenge isn't knowing those 7 steps, it's getting 100 reps to execute steps 4 and 5 with consistent quality day in and day out.
That's the million-dollar problem.
So if those traditional 7 steps are the engine of the sales process, what's the turbocharger that ensures the engine doesn't just break down but actually keeps getting better?
That turbocharger is the critical 8th step.
Yeah.
It's often overlooked, but it's the one that the sales experts really champion. It's feedback and adjustment.
Okay.
If you stop at commitment or closing step 7, your process is static. It's inflexible. The 8th step turns the entire system into a living document. It's a continuous improvement mechanism built right into the workflow.
I think this is probably the most critical point for our executive audience. If a leader is going to dedicate time to formalizing this 8th step, what specific quantifiable metrics are they looking at to know if the system is broken, not just the rep?
Excellent question. If you're doing step 8 correctly, you are monitoring metrics like stage conversion velocity.
Right.
So how long are deals sitting in specific stages?
Right.
Are deals constantly stalling out in the presentation stage? Well, that suggests the presentation content or the training around it is flawed, not necessarily that your reps are weak. You're also monitoring win-loss analysis by process step. Did we consistently lose deals right after the objection handling step? Then the systemic objection handling script or the playbook itself needs updating. It's about finding patterns in the data.
So the strategic value for an executive it's profound. Integrating this 8th step ensures the system evolves, improves, and becomes less dependent on individual stars. You are literally building a self-improving organization.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. Without step 8, every time a top rep leaves or the market shifts, you have to restart the learning cycle from scratch. With step 8, the system captures that tribal knowledge, integrates it, and then automatically scales that improvement to the whole team. It ensures consistency, which is the bedrock of predictable, scalable revenue.
Wait, I have to challenge this one more time. If we standardize everything, aren't we just creating, highly efficient mediocrity? What happens to creativity? To the ability to innovate on the fly when we try to eliminate the art of it?
That's a fair challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But the process isn't meant to script every single word. It's meant to standardize the outcomes and the required evidence at each stage.
Okay.
Standardization of the process actually frees up the sales professional to focus their creativity on the most complex problems, addressing nuanced objections, building deeper rapport, innovating within that established framework. If the system handles the mechanical parts like qualification criteria and the necessary documentation, the rep can dedicate their mental energy to strategic persuasion, which is really the only truly artistic part of the sale anyway.
So standardization elevates the floor, which allows the strongest reps to build even higher.
Higher and faster, exactly. So, to synthesize all this for you, the goal is to shift the executive focus from managing people to managing the process architecture. Disciplined execution of a clear 8-step workflow, one that intentionally incorporates that continuous feedback and adjustment, leads directly to predictable, scalable revenue. By implementing this structure, you stop waiting for luck. You start creating and institutionalizing success.
And that ties right back to the central message we started with. With a codified, self-improving system in place, you are empowered. You transform sales success from what feels like a talent lottery into an organizational engineering achievement. You are investing in institutional knowledge that actually appreciates in value over time. If you are dedicated to maximizing your team's performance, to achieving truly predictable revenue growth, and to establishing an infrastructure that will last far longer than any individual rep, we really encourage you to explore the resources and tools available from the sales experts. To dive deeper into these actionable insights and learn more about transforming your sales strategy from art to engineering, visit thesalesexperts.com. That's thesalesexperts.com. Build the machine. Don't chase the magic.